What's up, everybody? This is Rich with Lifetime Shred, and today we're talking about bargain wakeboard boats. So let's say you got $12,000 and you want to get out on the lake, you want to start wakeboarding. Might feel impossible when a new boat could be $250,000 or something, but it's not impossible. There's actually some really great boats from the past that you can find out there and get into a boat, get out on the water for around $12,000. So when we think about boat models, kind of like the cheapest boat that people do like wakeboarding behind is going to be your 1980s, 2001. 2001's the model name. Nautiques, like this one I have right here, $3,000, assuming this thing runs. Let's see, it says boat runs pretty well. This is an option, but a big but with these boats, and $3,000, maybe it's worth the risk. They have wood stringers. And the problem with wood stringers is they rot. So this is a rotten wood stringer out of one of these boats. And Nautique used wood stringers till about 1992. So the boat that I would actually suggest if you have $12,000 to buy would be the 1993 to 1997 Sport Nautique. So why do I say this boat? So with this boat, the Sport Nautique originally came out, I think, 1990, and they found that this boat, it was a bigger boat. It had an open bow compared to the older Nautiques. It had a really great wakeboard wake when people started wakeboarding, but it wasn't the best for slalom skiing. But right around 1998, they did change the Sport Nautique to be more friendly to slalom skiing. But actually that hull from the early 90s with the Sport Nautique, it actually was basically the same hull that ended up being used in the Super Air Nautique that came out in the late 90s. And that hull is one of the classic wakeboard hulls for the original Super Air from, I believe, it was either 98 or 99 to 2006. So if you think about it, 93 to 97, yes, Sport Nautique, this is going to be a direct drive, while the Super Air Nautique was a V drive. But you're going to get in a very similar shaped hull, and then you just need to put weight in the boat to weigh it down and get a pretty fun wakeboard wake for about $12,000. So, I looked through Facebook at a couple examples of what's out there across the Mountain West and the Northeast. Let's just go through them real quick. So 95 Correct Craft Sport Nautique, $7,800. Obviously this one, the trailer looks kind of beat. Maybe there's something else going on with that. That's really cheap. 1995 Sport Nautique with a tower, $12,500. 1995 Sport Nautique with a tower, $12,000. As you can see, there's some really great options out there for a boat with a tower for around $12,000. And the other thing I'd say about Nautique in general is in the 90s, they had the GT-40 engine in them. And the GT-40, if you read around the internet, it's one of the most reliable marine engines that, now that we're decades out, that's ever been built. People are big fans of the GT-40, and the Sport Nautique in the mid-90s had the GT-40. So getting back into why you would want this boat, so obviously you got a $12,000 budget. You're getting a boat with a very similar hull to one of the all-time classic wakeboard boats, the Super Air Nautique, or the first-generation Super Air Nautique. You're also getting a boat that has a dependable engine in the GT-40. You're getting a boat with fiberglass stringers, so you're not going to be dealing with wood rot issues. And really just Nautique in general is just, I don't know, there's something special to the quality of these boats compared to their peers, especially back in the day. They just tend to hold up better over time from what I've seen. Oh yeah, when it comes to the hull, like I was just talking about, similar to the Super Air Nautiques, they did change the hull in 1998 to a much more slalom ski friendly hull. And what's really interesting with this, so you have like the Air Nautique, which is really just the Sport Nautique in 1998 and later, but with a tower, but it's still a direct drive, but it's got this new hull. So, it's not the same hull as a Super Air anymore. So I'd actually say a 93 to 97 Sport Nautique is probably going to have a better wake than a 1998, 1999 Air Nautique. Now, in addition to that, you've also got the Pro Air Nautique, which was a very specific hull that was just made for that boat in a direct drive. And again, it was kind of an interesting hull. It was designed to get the back of the boat to sit lower, but it was a direct drive. And really, at that point, the Super Air Nautique was taking off, and everyone was going to V drives if they could afford it. Anyway, so that boat didn't last very long. So, when it comes down to these boats, I think the 93 to the 97 Sport Nautique's really that sweet spot for that direct drive to get in that, $10,000, $12,000 region. But that said, if you do have more money and you could stretch a little bit, you can find a Nautique Super Sport. So starting in 1995, Nautique started making a V-drive version of their sport boat, and they never changed the hull on this one. So if you get in to like a 95, 97, or a 99, like this one right here, it's going to have basically the same hull as the Super Air Nautique. It's going to be a V-drive. It just didn't come from the factory, most likely, with like a tower and stuff like that. The other cool thing about these two, when you get into the late 90s, you start seeing these boats already have perfect pass, cruise control on them, and other features like that. But you know, you can get a really nice boat for under $20,000 then, but maybe that's another video. Anyway, I hope this video was useful. I know it wasn't super long, but I just wanted to call that out because I do see a lot of views on some of my other boating price category videos, and I've thought about this a lot because at one point in time I didn't own a boat and I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and I was really thinking about a 2001, the model Nautique from the 80s, and what I came to realize is unless I found one where someone had very recently done the stringers and done a great job, it just wasn't worth the risk. And that's why I call out the 93 to 97 Sport Nautique as probably the best budget wakeboard boat if you're just trying to spend as little money as possible. Because again, reliable engine, classic wakeboard hull, fiberglass stringers, and from a very popular, dependable brand that people have trusted for decades now in Nautique, or Correct Craft. So anyway, I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Have fun out on the lake. And if you're not on the lake, maybe consider a budget boat so you can get out there. All right, we'll catch you later. See ya.